Okay, so good afternoon and welcome everybody to this FX Street webinar where we're going to do some live trading, or at least planning for the live trades. Ideally we were going to do this earlier and do some day trading, but unfortunately, just as I said, we've had a nightmare getting this webinar going this week. So what we're going to do instead, still live trading, but I'm going to take you through the longer term setups that I'm looking at. As opposed to force some days trades, which I don't do. It's past 4 o'clock now, so typically I finish day trading at 4 o'clock in any case. But hopefully there'll be some really good stuff for you to take from this session in any case, some stuff you can learn and use it in your own trading. So, a very quick disclaimer. The content of this webinar, this video, is not investment advice and should be used purely for educational purposes only. Now, we are going to be talking about live trades in the markets, trades that I'm going to be looking at taking in the coming days, weeks, etc. But that's not to say that any of you guys should be doing the same thing. You've still got to make your own decisions. So none of this is investment advice. It's not signals to trade or anything like that whatsoever. It's purely for educational purposes. I'm going to take you through how I look at the markets, what I'm looking at, and basically just how I go about trading. Obviously, if you like anything that you see within this video, you still need to go away and do your own due diligence, do your own analysis, and decide for yourselves whether the trade's right or not. Okay? Spread betting and trading carries a very high level of risk, and obviously there's a potential to lose a hell of a lot of money in this business. So, with the disclaimer out of the way, a little introduction as to who I am. My name's Alex Ong. I'm the co-founder of a website called Traders Corner. The link's there if you want to go and visit it. I've been trading the market since about 2005. I've written articles, been quoted in different places, written courses, all of that kind of good stuff. I've been there and done that. My Twitter handle is at the bottom of this. It's at Alex Ong UK. It has been not utilized all that much over the Christmas period, but I'll get back onto it in the coming weeks if you want to follow me there. And now, without further ado, let's get into the meat of this and start looking at the charts. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this thing here. I'm going to bring the charts up and talk you through exactly what it is that I look at when I'm looking to trade the market. So, let's bring this here as well. Okay, let's have this on top. This on the bottom. Sorry, I've just got to organize the screens here because generally I've got quite a few more screens in this, but I'm going to try and fit it in to the screen that you guys can see in front of you. So hopefully you all can see two charts there. Boyki, the book, you can get it from our website. In fact, we don't actually sell the ebook anymore. We've got a physical book that's sold in the UK. If you're in the UK, if you send me an email, I can send you the link to all of the details and stuff, or we've got some boot camps and all of that kind of good stuff. But send me send me an email if you like. It's alex@traderscorner-online.com, and I will give you all the information you need. Okay, no problem if you're not in the UK, but send me your email anyway, and we'll see what we can do to hook you up. Okay? All right, so looking at the markets, first of all, what do I do when I'm looking at the markets? I look at many different currency pairs. I typically look at all of the majors and the crosses associated with them. And what I have is, if I show you guys this here, I have in NinjaTrader, you have the opportunity to create what's known as sort of like, well, they call it a market analyzer. It's the equivalent to sort of creating a watch list of sorts, okay? And what it essentially allows me to do is have all of my currency pairs that I look at. I'll put that there like so. All of the currency pairs, and I can literally scroll through them and add ones that I'm interested in to a particular list. Ones are imminent for entry to another list, and so on and so forth. You guys can all do this with an Excel spreadsheet or something if you don't use something like NinjaTrader, although I highly recommend it as a platform. Yes, it is a paid platform, but it is very good, and I enjoy using it. Anyway, all right, so what I do, at the moment you've got what I've been looking at over the past few days. Okay, but if we start from the beginning, ultimately what I do is I go through each of the charts and I literally click on a chart, I wait for the chart to show itself, I'll look at it and I'll see if it's moving, if it's trending. Now you guys know that I like to trade trending markets. Okay, I don't really like trading in the middle of consolidation, and therefore this here, this Aussie New Zealand was not actually on my watch list because to me it's not really moving anywhere. It isn't, there's no momentum, real momentum in any one direction. After this momentum down here, it gave us an opportunity to enter, but after a couple of candles that showed us it wasn't going anywhere, then decided to retrace. So then this here doesn't necessarily represent momentum. What I'm looking at, and I'll show you what I like to see in terms of price action on these range charts in a second, is very nice flowing harmonic price action. Now you'll notice here that I have the daily charts below as well. For the daily charts, I'm looking at these, I'm not necessarily looking at these to show me a trend, but I'm looking at them for significant levels because I don't tend to like trading into trouble. Okay, so the daily chart doesn't necessarily have to be trending that heavily, but I use it as a reference. So for example, if I've got a signal to enter somewhere around here, I wouldn't be doing it because I'm going to be trading into the lows of this candle here, and you just don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to be taking the absolute best setups, okay, the no-brainer setups, the ones that you can look at and you can say to yourself, yes, I know why I got into that trade, and if that presented itself again, I'd get into it again. Okay. The moving averages are the 100, the 60, and the 20. So I'll go through all of the charts and literally click through them and see if there's something of interest. Now, most of these here, there isn't that much going on at the moment. That's why they're up here. So we'll go through the ones where there has been some movement, there has been some interest, and there have been some trades I've taken over the past couple of days. Obviously, I'm heavily short the yen, which means I'm long the yen pairs. There have been some fantastic opportunities on these pairs over the past couple of weeks, and this is ultimately what you're looking for. You see, if we compare this back to the Aussie New Zealand chart, right? Let me just go back there a second. Let's compare the two charts. This one here, you can see it's going sideways, so I'm just not interested in that, right? 45 range is nearest time frame, probably something like a 4-hour chart, somewhere between a 1-hour and a 4-hour chart, Koiki. Okay, so the Aussie New Zealand's going nowhere. Let's compare that to the New Zealand yen. Okay, the Kiwi Yen, this guy over here, is clearly moving in a direction. It's very harmonic price action. The pullbacks look very nice. And it's giving you very clear signals to get in the direction of the trend. This is what we're looking to do. Typically, I'm trying to ride the price all the way up as it skirts up along the moving averages here. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to ride the price all the way up. So what I will do is I'll ultimately go through the charts, take a look at it, and see if it's going to set up. It's on my watch list if it's trending nicely. Okay, it goes onto my hot list over here if it looks like it's going to give me a signal. If it's not going to give me a signal, as in if it's somewhere at the top of this move here, I'm always looking for a price action to get into the trades, right? So if it's up at the top here, I will put it into my watch list, but I won't put it into the hot list down here. Okay, so the watch list, I'm sat here looking for trades, looking for potential pairs that can present me with an opportunity. And typically the watch list are the pairs that I will look at more often through the day than I would something like these over here, and the hot list I'll keep checking back, more frequently than that. Now, with the New Zealand yen, at the moment for me, it's right at the top. Okay. Now, typically I don't mind consolidation like this, where it just kind of goes sideways, but I prefer a nicer pullback. Okay, I prefer this kind of price action here. So you have a nice sort of orderly price action, which gives you a clear direction to enter. The entry is very, very easy to spot. Yes, you can see that these consolidation periods where it just kind of goes sideways, it does give you an opportunity to go to take good trades. But I personally prefer getting into the ones here where you get a nice pullback, a nice opportunity to get into the trade in the direction of the trend. Okay. So for the New Zealand yen for me, the Kiwi yen, at the moment, yes, there's a beauty. Looking at the daily chart, look left, absolutely nothing in the way. So this looks like something that potentially is going to be interesting for me next week. This can pull back a little bit to this sort of previous area of support there around the 92.51, or even if it can get back to the 93.31, I'll be looking for my signals to get long. The CAD franc, eventually when this thing loads. That's the only one thing with NinjaTrader, by the way. The loading of the charts, because I use the range charts and everything, isn't as great as it could be. But, you know, it's a small price to pay. Ray, I've seen your comment. I'll come to the Aussie dollar in a second, okay? But as you can see, the Aussie dollar for me isn't something that I'm looking at right now. All right, so I'm going to focus on the ones I am looking at, then we'll come back to that in a little while. Okay, the CAD franc is this guy over here. Now, this one was moving. Okay, this does have momentum with it. I've actually missed this opportunity to get short. That came through yesterday. I was actually looking at these guys over here, and once I saw the candles kind of doing this, 'cause what I'm looking for is just nice flowy price action. I don't mind getting into like this, but I'm trying to get into the best trades, and that's another point, guys. Okay, when you're trading many pairs, you can fall into the trap of you may get 20 signals all on one day. You don't have to take all of those 20 signals. Many of them are going to be correlated anyway, all right? And if they're correlated, then what you want to be doing is you're looking for the ones that have the best price action, that look the best on your charts. And this one, and I'll show you what I've been looking at this morning and why I decided not to look at this one. This one is great. It's a nice pullback there. Wonderful. That's fine. Okay, but the price action was a little bit choppy when it got to the top. Instead, I opted to start looking at something like the pound New Zealand, which is this over here. Now this, as you can see, the pullback is much nicer. Okay, this did actually give us a signal to get in short earlier, but I didn't do that because this whole move here, we're on a Friday afternoon and the UK came out with some horrendous numbers earlier, so I decided not to stand in front of the train and just wait to see what happens Monday morning before I look to get into this trade. But this here, the pullback represented much better value for money. Okay. Because the CAD franc was kind of moving sideways. Okay, it got to the top and it was moving sideways, whereas this one here was a nice orderly pullback. And if we had got the short earlier on in the day, I definitely would have been in there. To give you examples of the trades that I've taken this week, I took the dollar yen, which was just an absolutely beautiful trade to the upside. Basically, this went onto my hot list when it was looking like this here. Okay, if I expand that a little bit for you guys. When this looks like this here, I then put this over to my hot list. I waited for the entry, which we got over here. We got our signal to enter over here. And as you can see, price then roared off. And I took some nice profits off the table. That I also took at the same time the Aussie Yen and the dollar franc. Dollar franc actually got out of a little bit too early, to be honest, but nevertheless. So the Aussie Yen is this guy over here. Again, look at the pullback. Okay, the reason I keep saying look at the pullback, by the way, is it tells you a lot about price. Now, for our members, they've heard me talk about this a couple of times in the past, but for you guys, you probably haven't heard this. The pullback tells you so much about what the price is doing, because if you kind of have choppy price action, okay, this is my theory anyway. If you have choppy price action like this, okay, you don't ever really know who's winning the battle. It's like a constant battle, so it's never completely clear when one side has won or the other. Whereas when you get a pullback like this, where it's clear that the bears, you've got all of these bearish candles here, the bears are in control of this pullback, or at least the bulls aren't trying to fight it. Okay, now if the bulls aren't trying to fight it, then when the bulls do get involved, we can see that the last time they got involved, they managed to do all of this kind of damage over here. So that gives us the confidence to get into the trade in the direction of the major trend when the dominant force comes into play. It's much more difficult trying to pick the signal from something like that, because you don't necessarily know who the dominant force is at that point, because they're both fighting against each other. I much prefer it when you get one side like the dominant force taking profits, maybe a few of the bears getting involved here trying to sell it short, but we know they're not going to succeed, because the bulls aren't fighting against it. When the bulls get involved for the first time, you can sort of, not necessarily guarantee yourself, but you can expect to get at least some pips movement there where you can get your stop in at break even or something like that. in order to ride a move like this, which is exactly what we did here. Okay, daily look real candles correct. Daily look. Sorry, Boyke, I'm not entirely sure what you mean there. Can we talk about what you like about the pairs in your hot list? Yes, indeed. I'll go over to the hot list and we can take a look. Some of them have been invalidated today, by the way. Okay. In fact, most of them, because a lot of them were pounds. So the pound yen, okay, I had here because we had a lot of momentum to the upside here. And that kind of spelled out that there was, ultimately there was a good opportunity to get long this particular pair if it gave a nice pullback. Now, I started looking at it here, okay, and the market was down here. However, it then gave me a signal to enter too early. I wasn't willing to get in that early on the pullback. I'm waiting for more of a pullback there, looking for something back towards this sort of area of previous resistance become support. Yeah, no, these are range bars, Boyke. These are 45 range bars here. Yeah, so I was looking for it to come back to this sort of support area here. It didn't do that, and it took off before I got a chance to get into it. So that kind of invalidated that setup. The pound New Zealand, as I said, I was very much looking forward to getting in here. In fact, at this point here, I had an order in to get short at about 91.25 when the market was up here. And that was at sort of 10 o'clock this morning. However, moving into this afternoon, the market didn't do that. It roared off against me. You had the UK news come out earlier. Didn't really want to stand in front of a train and hence didn't get involved in that. Also, towards the end of the session, we're on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, so didn't get involved in this, but it was, for me, it looked like a great setup here. The moving averages are widening, which is always a good sign. We've got a clear trend in the market, all right? You know where the market's going. You can't really argue about that. Well, you could, but you wouldn't argue with it anyway. The market's definitely moving down here. You've got a nice orderly pullback, a nice angle to the pullback. It's not nice angle to it. Yeah, so I was looking to get short, and then news came out. If the news didn't come out and we weren't on a Friday afternoon, I would have taken the short. 100% I would have gone short this trade here, but it just wasn't the way. Mr. CC, the trigger, it wouldn't be right for me to give you the trigger here because our members pay us money to find out what our triggers are. But what I can tell you is that you can use price action. So if you were to apply this sort of thing on a daily chart or a 4-hour chart or something, you can look for candlestick formations. They're very good ways to enter into a trend. So if you look for sort of like pin bars or engulfing patterns, that kind of a thing, that's a good way to get back into a trend in the direction of the trend. The daily candles are real candles. Yes, they are, Boyke. These are all real candles here. They're not range bar candles. Range bars on top. The dailies just show me where to get in to the particular trade. Okay? So where are we? So what else was I looking at? Looking at the pound CAD as well. This one is starting to annoy me. Again, earlier on this morning, it looked like it was going to be a nice pullback, but look at what's happening here now. There's just no real direction there. It's kind of, it doesn't know what it's doing. So again, this actually is going to come off of my radar, and it's not even going to go onto my watch list. I now need, with the pound CAD, I want to see this break lower. Okay, I want to see it break lower for momentum. Once it breaks lower, if it gives me a pullback, that will go back onto the watch list and perhaps go onto my hot list where I'll eventually take the trade. But right now, that I can't even look at that. That's just disgusting. It's not for me. So, what about the pound Aussie? This one looks a little bit better. Look at this pullback here. Okay, now obviously, I'm not going to be looking to take this trade today. If this opens somewhere around here, we get this sort of a pullback on Monday morning, and then it goes to start moving in our direction, I will certainly get into that trade in the direction of the trend if we get the trigger for it. I'm not going to, if it gives me a signal now, I won't be getting into it 100%. But if it can kind of consolidate around here, this previous level of support here, which becomes resistance, if it then gives us a signal to go short, I'm in there. If we get that signal, 100% I'm in there, I'm taking that short. So that can stay. What about the franc yen? What's that telling us? Okay, so the franc yen also looks like a good one. It's got a lot of momentum with it, a lot of momentum with it. It's probably one of the strongest pairs at the moment, if the franc's been strengthening against the dollar, and the yen's been weakening against just about everything. So this is quite a good one to look at. We need an orderly pullback though. Okay, we need this sort of price action here. We need this kind of stuff here. This will get us into this trade. If we don't get that, we're not taking the trade. Okay, but ultimately that's what we're looking for. Something like this would be very, very nice. But at the moment we don't have that. At the moment it's just showing us it's strong. We need a pullback before we get in this, but this is going to remain on my hot list because I like the look of it. Now the other thing to remember, guys, is that you don't have to take every single trade. Now, I'm a big advocate in being consistent in your trading. I truly believe if you're not consistent in your trading, you're setting yourself up for failure in the long run. But being consistent doesn't mean taking everything that moves. Being consistent means taking all of the best setups. Be patient. Wait for the setups that just make absolute, complete sense. If you can wait for those, then you're going to be doing well. Okay? Wait for those setups, and yeah, there's absolutely nothing that's standing in your way of being successful. If you're not patient and you can't wait for those setups, well, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay? And particularly when you're trading a lot of different pairs. If you're trading a lot of different pairs, as we've got here, I mean, what are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 over pairs that I look at. Now, if you've got that many in front of you, you absolutely are going to get times where you have 7, 8, 9 setups all at the same time. Do not take all of them. Pick your favorite 3, favorite 2, take those. Once you're into profit with those, once you've got your break even or you've locked in some profit, something like that, then you can look at taking other trades. But the truth is, the majority of the time, a lot of them are going to be correlated trades. Okay, whether you like it or not, they're going to be trades that one is the same, so all you're doing is increasing your risk. So the advice is really wait for the best setups. If you've got more than 3 or 4 or 5, pick your favorite 2 or 3 and take those. Don't worry about the others. Yes, there will be times when the others go off and make money and the ones that you got in didn't. Of course, that's going to be the case, but you know what? You have to accept that as a trader. But in the long run, I promise you, as long as you're able to remain disciplined and you wait for the very best setups, you will be doing yourself a lot of favors, and you'll give yourself the best chance of success. The traders, the retail traders that try and chase every single tick up and down, they are the ones that fail in the long run, unfortunately. Okay, so please learn discipline, and I promise in the end you will not regret that. Okay, so let's go through some other pairs and see what we're looking at. We've been through these watch list here. The hot list. Let's go through the watch list and see if there's anything that I want to put on the radar. Okay, it's another classic example. The New Zealand dollar New Zealand yen looks exactly the same as the franc yen. I don't need both of them there, so I'm watching the franc yen for the moment. If we look at the CAD franc, is that doing anything for us? It was breaking down when we saw it earlier. So ultimately, with the CAD franc, it's going to stay on the watch list because it looks like it's trending nicely. It's got the potential if it breaks lower. I'll be more than willing to try and get involved in that. But at this particular moment in time, I've missed the entry there. I'm not in on that trade. There isn't an opportunity to get in at the moment, so it stays on the watch list. It does not move over to the hot list. I look 18 to 20. Thank you very much. I'm 30 years old. Last year, last year, August. So yes, that's me. Is that a good or a bad thing? It means I'm aging, right? Okay, the Euro New Zealand. This was looking good. This gave us a couple of opportunities to get short here over the past week or so. This now is completely off the radar. Take a look at that. That's momentum in the wrong direction. So until the trend establishes itself to the long side or breaks back down here with equal amount of momentum, not even looking at that, that can come off. Oh, excellent. We're almost the same. Ray, the 45 range is roughly the equivalent to somewhere between the 1 hour and the 4 hour, because the thing with range charts is that they move according to price. They don't move according to time. So when it's not moving anywhere, it could be the equivalent to a daily. But if you say somewhere between a 1 hour and a 4 hour chart, you're sort of on the right track there. Okay? Do I ever trade counter trend? It's funny you should say that. No, I don't. Typically, I don't trade counter trend. However, I have. I don't know why, but I was bored the other night when I sat with my wife. She was watching something ridiculous on TV, and I had my laptop in front of me, and I was just going over the charts, going over some of the shorter term charts, and I started to notice a bit about everybody says don't trade the Asian sessions because the Asian sessions are dead, they don't do anything, all of that kind of good stuff. You have the dead period between the US close and the real Asian open, somewhere between sort of like 9:30 UK time and midnight UK time. And I started to look at the charts, and I was looking at it on a shorter term basis, and I was noticing, yeah, you know what, it doesn't go anywhere, but they still do tend to sort of respect miniature versions of support and resistance, right? And so I'm playing with the idea at the moment of possibly trading through that time, but just sort of buying support and selling resistance, okay? But only getting in there, scalping literally sort of 5 or 6 pips here and there with a stop of 2 or 3 pips. Now, obviously, you need to make sure that if you're going to trade that sort of way, your spread needs to be less than a pip. So generally, you can only trade this on something like the euro, the Aussie, or the pound. But yeah, so typically, no, I don't trade counter trend. However, as I said, it is something that I'm toying with at the moment. I've been playing with it for a little bit, and it looks to have some promise. But I'll update you guys. Next time we're on one of these webinars with FX Street in a couple of weeks' time, I'll update you on how that's going, and I'll let you know. Bored with the wife, and all you could think of is trading. Right, yeah. Unfortunately, I live and breathe the markets. It's very, very sad, but I think you've got to be like that to a point. If you don't, I'm not saying you have to be as obsessive as I am about it, but if you don't have a passion for it, then you're not going to be there. It is tough at times. So, no, I know, but I'm just saying. So, where am I? Do you dream of FX? Yes. No, I don't. But you never know. At some point, I might. Okay. Euro dollar, this has come back onto the watch list. The reason for that, it wasn't on it initially, but after this momentum move, I like, if this can continue going somewhat and then pull back a bit, I'll be looking to get in there. Euro Aussie. What are we thinking about for this? Okay, I'm not interested in this anymore. I was interested in this because it looked like this was going to start really selling off and give us a nice pullback, but this is completely reversed, so that is now off the agenda. CAD Yen, while the yen pairs are always going to be on my watch list, well, they will for the moment anyway because they are moving very nicely, so that will stay. Come on. Is someone working on your flat? No, yeah, there is some banging here. One of my offices is in a warehouse, and unfortunately, with it being a warehouse, it's very loud. The walls are literally, well, there are no walls. Well, there are walls, but they're just sort of plasterboard kind of stuff. So very, very loud. I apologize for that. So how long do you expect this Euro bull rally to last? I don't have a clue is the ultimate. Sorry, maybe I'll go downstairs and I'll tell them to shut up. How's that? Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know how long the Euro rally will last. you can't ever tell these things. You just ultimately, with trading, you just have to be there, and you need to be ready to take advantage of the price when it's moving in the direction of the trend. You just got to take advantage of it. You don't ever really predict it. That's not the right way to go about trading. You just have to have your system in place, signals, and you react until the system stops giving signals. Do I use any other indicators? No, apart from the ones I have on my screen. They're the only ones that I use. Okay, so the CAD Yen, yep, this guy can stay, moving nicely. Dollar Yen, obviously, Aussie Yen, yes. Euro CAD, we might have to reconsider. Dollar Franc, this is the one that I came out of early, by the way. When all of my yen pairs, yen trades, I was in 3 yen in this dollar franc. The yen ones were heavily in profit, and this one was just kind of a little bit in profit, but it was messing about over here. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to close them all up. Bad decision there, should have kept it. But yeah, that one can stay. Euro CAD, let's take a look. Euro CAD. When it eventually moves. So do you guys have any questions at all? New Zealand dollar and Aussie dollar. Okay, we'll take a look at those in a second. Let me just get this last one, the Euro CAD out the way, then we'll go and take a look at those. Are you in those trades then, Ray? Is that why you're interested in them? Is there a particular interest for any reason, or? Okay, this guy can stay. If this continues going up, we may have some. In fact, no, it needs to move up a bit more, so that's going to disappear. Okay, Aussie dollar. Where are you? New Zealand dollar we'll start with. Okay, demo short on both. Why? Okay, I'm not sure on these. I mean, I'm assuming you've probably gone short off of the top of the range here on the New Zealand dollar. From my range trading perspective, I wouldn't be going short here. However, this candle here, this daily candle, is actually very, very bearish. I'd expect a little bit of a pullback in here going into the close with some profit taken. If Monday morning the markets then come and then they breach the low of this candle, from a price action perspective, it would be completely valid. The reason for that, well, my belief is that obviously we've got big area of resistance here, resistance again, the markets come up to this level, massive bearish engulfing candle over here. If we can just break the low of the wick on Monday morning, from a price action perspective, I would be willing to take that short. However, the one thing you have to have in mind is that if you take that short, this here is a potential area that's going to give you issues. The 83.55, that previous level of resistance, could become support, and a little bit lower there, 83.25. So literally sort of around this area here, this has the potential to give you some issues. This trader's corner in the corner of a where? FX boy key, yeah, it's not quite a corner, it's a big office. I'll take a picture and post it on the website if you like. Where are we? Aussie dollar. I know Boyke, I know you. We love each other, right? Aussie dollar, similar sort of situation, hasn't given us a bearish engulfing candle, but yeah, I mean, you're selling resistance, not a problem. But personally, for me, it's really choppy. I wouldn't know what to do with this pair, hence the reason it's still there. Ah, hello Anne, how are you? Happy New Year. Nice to hear from you. I hope the trading's going well. So, people, do we have any other questions at all? Do you have any questions about the charts? As I said, at the moment, really, from my perspective, the yen ones are the strongest ones. The yen ones are definitely the ones I'm going to be looking at for the coming weeks, but all of them need to give me a bit of a pullback before I look to get long. And fundamentally, the yen is a great trade as well, because fundamentally you've got the new ruling party, is it the LDP or something in Japan? You know, they're really pushing for sort of unlimited easing and stuff. And if the BOJ follow up with that, then we could really see some good strong moves on the yen. It's a trade that everybody's been waiting for years, and it seems like it's taking off now. So it's definitely something I'm going to be looking at for the coming weeks in any case. Yeah, the yen really has been on fire, Ray. So any other questions at all? As I'm in the UK, do I sometimes like the pound dollar? No, I don't have any preference to it, to be honest with you. No. What about the broker with Ninja? I don't actually, I don't have a broker with Ninja anymore. I trade through FXCM, and I also use a spread betting platform called IG Index in the UK. I literally just use Ninja for trading. IG Index, yes. Am I watching the Arsenal? Oh, they bring me nothing but misery at the moment. But yeah, are they playing on Sunday? Is it on TV? Is it Man City, isn't it? I think, at the Emirates. Yes. Yeah. Well, obviously we're going to beat Man City, if nothing else, but to make sure that Samir Nasri's unhappy. So, but no, Arsenal are just causing me nothing but misery of late. So. Are you a Arsenal fan, Ray? Again, Ahmed, I'm not really in the business of predicting how far a particular pair can go, but the yen, if you had to call it, if we take a look at the chart and we look at it from a technical perspective, eventually, we look at this daily chart here. Well, actually, this is not the, the next sort of stopping point. We've got above 88. That was a big area, right? We've got above there. We're at 89 now. So the next real stopping point is 91, 94. And then we've got big resistance up there at 95. So we need to see how price reacts to that. But it's done some of the hard work. It's bounced up above 90, which is a good thing. It's bounced above at 90, above 88, which is a good thing. So we will see how we go from there. FXCM has gained capital. I don't know. No, FXCM I don't know, to be honest with you. How did Arsenal get their name? No clue. Do you know? So, if there are no other questions, maybe near the army barracks. Okay. The gunners, indeed. Okay, well, if there are no other questions or anything, obviously I thank everybody for joining. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do any day trading, but hopefully this gave you a little bit of an insight as to how I trade longer term in any case. As I said, the secret really is about the quality of trades, guys. All right, it really is about taking the best trades all the time. You don't need to settle for second best. There are more than enough opportunities out there. You just wait for the right trades, and as long as you wait for the right ones, you should see that you get paid for them in the end. Okay? So thank you, FX Street, for having me and for putting up with me this week. I know it's been a nightmare to eventually get this going. Hopefully that's the only time that will happen. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you guys for watching. Next time, day trading. Yes, I can speak to FX Street. I'm not sure what our next webinar is about, but I will speak to them and see if we can do that. Then we'll go from there. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I hope you all have a very, very good weekend. And until the next time, take care. Thank you very much.